How to stay unshaken in any confrontation. Machiavelli's lesson. They say strength is measured in muscles, in titles, in the volume of one's voice. But Machiavelli would have disagreed. Real strength, he said, is not about conquering others. It's about never being conquered by your own emotions. You see, the world will always provoke you. It will test your calm, question your value, and challenge your position. But the one who remains centered while everyone else trembles, that one holds invisible power. The kind of power that cannot be taken, only recognized. Every confrontation in life, whether with a person, an idea, or a fear, is an invitation to reveal who truly governs your inner kingdom. Do you rule over your emotions, or do they rule over you? When someone disrespects you, your instinct is to react. When they lie about you, your pulse quickens. When they question your worth, you feel that familiar fire in your chest, that urge to defend yourself, to prove them wrong. But what if that's exactly what they want? What if confrontation is not a fight between two people, but a silent test of who loses control first? Machiavelli knew this better than anyone. He understood that those who can remain unmoved in chaos wield a presence that terrifies the weak. It's not arrogance, it's sovereignty. Because silence, when used correctly, is more frightening than anger. Today's world rewards loudness. Everyone wants to have the last word, to win an argument, to prove superiority. But in truth, most people are not fighting for truth. They are fighting for validation. They speak not to be right, but to be seen. Machiavelli saw this centuries ago. He observed that men who spoke too much often betrayed their intentions, while those who stayed composed forced others to reveal themselves. The more you react, the more you expose what controls you. The more you stay unshaken, the more the world bends to your quiet confidence. This is what we are going to explore together. How to remain unmoved in the face of confrontation. How to keep your center while the storm rages. And how to turn conflict into quiet dominance. I will show you the subtle tactics Machiavelli taught, not to manipulate others, but to master yourself. Because the calm mind is not weak, it's a weapon. Before we continue, I want you to write this in the comments right now. My calm is my power. Write it not as a phrase, but as a declaration. Because by the end of this video, you'll understand why those 5 words are enough to disarm any enemy. So if you've ever been provoked, disrespected, or challenged, stay with me until the end. Because what you're about to discover is not just a lesson from Machiavelli, it's the forgotten art of emotional dominance. A truth so subtle most will never see it. But those who do become untouchable. And before we dive deeper, make sure you subscribe, like this video, and keep your focus till the final moment. Because the revelation waiting for you at the end is something most people spend a lifetime running from. The power of being still when the world demands you to shake. Centuries ago, in the turbulence of Renaissance Italy, power was not a matter of morality. It was a matter of survival. Machiavelli, born into a world of political betrayals and collapsing empires, observed one eternal truth. Men crumble not when the world turns against them, but when their emotions do. The Florentine statesman saw kings lose kingdoms not because they lacked armies, but because they lacked composure. Rage, pride, and fear, these were the true assassins of power. So he began to study what few dared to confront. The psychology of control. Not control over others, but control over oneself. For Machiavelli, to remain unshaken in confrontation was the essence of political mastery. He wrote not for the faint-hearted, but for those who sought to reign over chaos without being consumed by it. A prince, he said, must appear unmoved even when the world burns around him. Why? Because perception shapes reality. If others believe you are calm, they assume you are strong. If they see you panic, they smell blood. The equilibrium of your mind determines the balance of power in every interaction. But this was not only a political truth, it was a psychological one. Modern psychology now confirms what Machiavelli knew instinctively. Emotional regulation is the highest form of intelligence. The ability to stay calm in confrontation activates the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for rational thought, while emotional reactivity hijacks it, turning humans into creatures of instinct. In this sense, the modern calm mind is no different from the ancient princely mind. Both understand that stillness is strategy. Philosophically, this principle reaches even deeper. The Stoics of ancient Greece, the Buddhists of the East, and Machiavelli himself shared a hidden thread, the mastery of response. They all believed that external events have no real power over the human being. It is our interpretation that creates suffering. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Machiavelli translated that same idea into politics and survival. To him, the wise man and the powerful man were one and the same. Both were masters of composure. Yet as centuries passed, this truth was forgotten. The modern world replaced discipline with reaction, patience with outrage, and composure with expression. We now live in a time where people mistake impulsiveness for authenticity and emotional chaos for passion. We are told that to speak instantly is to be real. But in truth, the most dangerous person in the room is not the loud one. It's the one who says nothing, the one whose silence is unreadable, and that is the core of Machiavelli's lesson. In any confrontation, your silence unsettles the emotional equilibrium of others. Your calmness exposes their instability, and when they lose their center, they hand you the invisible crown of control. So as we step deeper into this journey, remember this: your greatest weapon is not your tongue, your strength, or your status. It's your stillness, the one who can stay unmoved when provoked, misunderstood, or attacked. Rules without lifting a finger. Machiavelli once wrote that a man who cannot master himself will be mastered by others. To remain unshaken in confrontation is not an act of arrogance. It is an act of sovereignty. It is to stand still when the world demands reaction, to stay lucid while others drown in emotion. The secret lies not in suppressing your feelings, but in governing them, like a king who reigns over his own inner court. Because in every argument, every disagreement, and every personal war, there are only two forces at play: the storm of the other and your ability to remain the mountain. Principle 1. Emotion is a trap set by the weak. The first thing Machiavelli understood is that emotion is the easiest way to enslave the strong. When someone confronts you, they're not always seeking truth. They're seeking control. The angrier you become, the more predictable you are. The more you react, the easier you are to manipulate. Every enemy, every rival, every provocateur wants the same thing: a reaction that exposes your weakness. The loudest person in the room is always the most insecure. Machiavelli observed that calm people appear dangerous because they cannot be read. They don't reveal the map of their mind. So remember this: the first to lose their calm loses the power. When someone attacks you, they are testing your center. They want to know how deep your roots go. If you respond instantly, you show that your balance depends on their approval. But if you pause, breathe, and let silence speak first, you shift the dynamic completely. In that silence, you show them something they didn't expect. You're not here to win the argument. You're here to master the field. Principle 2. The art of controlled presence. To stay unshaken, you must learn the art of presence, a quality Machiavelli admired deeply. True presence is not about being seen. It's about being felt. When a person with true composure enters a room, everything changes, not because of what they say, but because of what they withhold. It's in the posture, the breath, the eyes that don't dart nervously. Presence is the energy of someone who no longer needs validation. In The Prince, Machiavelli advised rulers to cultivate an aura of calm vigilance, to appear serene, even when uncertain, because perception creates power. When your presence radiates quiet authority, people instinctively hesitate before confronting you. Even aggressors feel the invisible weight of your steadiness. This is not about intimidation. It's about vibration. People sense your inner temperature. If it's steady, they melt in your field. If it's chaotic, they burn you first. Principle 3. Control the tempo of conflict. Machiavelli believes that the one who controls the pace of an interaction controls its outcome. When you slow down your reactions, you force the other to reveal their impatience. Impatience always exposes intention. In confrontation, timing is everything. Most people speak as soon as they feel discomfort. They rush to fill the silence, to justify themselves, to escape the tension. But tension is your territory. The stillness between words is where power grows. When someone confronts you, let your silence become a mirror. Allow them to drown in their own noise. The longer you wait, the more anxious they become and the more mistakes they make. Machiavelli's princes didn't rush decisions. They let opponents expose themselves. The longer you can hold tension without breaking, the more others reveal what they are hiding. Control the tempo, and you will always dictate the rhythm of respect. Principle 4. Detachment. Is the ultimate advantage. To stay unshaken, you must learn to detach, not from life, but from outcome. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you refuse to let results define your peace. Machiavelli knew that attachment breeds vulnerability. When you need to win, you're already losing. Because the moment you need something, approval, validation, revenge, you become predictable. Detachment, on the other hand, is freedom disguised as indifference. In confrontation, the detached mind cannot be cornered. It doesn't depend on the other's reaction to remain stable. It doesn't take insults personally because it recognizes the projection behind them. Machiavelli wrote that men are quick to offend those who fear nothing. Why? Because fearlessness disarms manipulation. The detached one walks away not because he is weak, but because he understands that energy spent defending the ego is energy stolen from destiny. Principle 5. Master the art of the hidden reaction. The world believes that composure means not feeling, but that's a lie. The calmest people feel everything, but they channel it through awareness. Machiavelli understood that power is not about suppressing emotion, but disguising it. He advised rulers to appear gentle, merciful, and composed, while being able to act decisively when needed. That is the paradox of mastery. You can appear soft, yet remain unmovable. Every reaction you hide becomes a seed of strength within you. Each moment of restraint builds your emotional armor. The ability to feel anger but show calm, to feel pain but display grace, that is divine discipline. Because while others lose control trying to express themselves, you are crafting your silence into a shield. Machiavelli knew that people fear what they cannot predict, and nothing is more unpredictable than the person who feels deeply but reacts with precision. Now I want you to write this in the comments. My silence speaks louder than anger. Because when you master this, you master confrontation itself. Principle 6. Never argue to convince. Argue to reveal. Machiavelli taught that the goal of confrontation is not persuasion. It is revelation. When you argue to win, you fall into ego's trap. But when you engage to observe, you begin to see the architecture of the other's mind. Every word they speak reveals their values, fears, and insecurities. The wise don't fight for dominance. They listen to collect data. In every argument, Machiavelli would look for patterns, tone, reaction, inconsistency. Because power is not in words but in observation. When you can detach from being right, you start to see the emotional mechanisms driving others. Then, without raising your voice, you can gently guide the direction of the entire interaction. This is the strategy of the unseen general, the one who wins not by force, but by foresight. Principle 7. Keep the upper hand. Through uncertainty, one of Machiavelli's most subtle tactics was to remain unpredictable. Predictability invites control. When your enemies can't anticipate your response, they cannot manipulate your next move. In confrontation, uncertainty is a weapon. If you remain calm and unreadable, others must fill in the blanks. And in doing so, they expose their own fears. You can even use uncertainty strategically. A pause, a slight smile, a look of quiet amusement. These subtle cues make others question whether they've made a mistake. Machiavelli wrote that fear and respect often come from the same place, mystery. The calm man who reveals nothing commands the attention of the entire room. Principle 8. Separate dignity from ego. Machiavelli's writings reveal a truth we've forgotten. Dignity is not pride. Ego demands validation. Dignity demands nothing. To remain unshaken, you must learn to act from dignity, not ego. Ego reacts to insult. Dignity remains silent. Ego wants to prove superiority. Dignity has nothing to prove. The difference between the weak and the wise is not emotion, it's awareness. When insulted, ask yourself, is this person truly attacking me? Or are they revealing their pain? When you operate from dignity, you become untouchable because you stop fighting illusions. You realize that no one can truly diminish you. They can only expose who they are. That realization alone can end 90% of your emotional suffering. Principle 9. Use silence as a mirror. Not a wall. Machiavelli was fascinated by silence. He saw it as a political weapon, but also as a psychological mirror. Silence does not block others. It reflects them. When you respond with silence, people see themselves, their projections, their impatience, their insecurity. They fill the void with their own chaos, revealing everything you need to know. However, silence must be intentional. The wrong kind of silence can look like weakness. The right kind radiates strength. The key difference: awareness. When you are silent from awareness, it feels grounded and deliberate. People feel it. It unsettles them. because they sense that behind that silence lies understanding. And understanding is always dangerous to those who rely on confusion. Principle 10. Convert confrontation. Into clarity, every confrontation carries a message. Most people only hear the noise. Few hear the truth behind it. Machiavelli believed that conflict, when observed calmly, reveals what needs to be healed or changed. When you stop reacting and start listening, confrontation becomes transformation. Ask yourself, what is this situation showing me about my attachments, my fears, my pride? Because every attack is a mirror, an invitation to refine your mastery. The calm one learns, adapts, and grows from conflict. The reactive one repeats the same lesson until life forces them to evolve. This is how confrontation stops being an obstacle and becomes initiation. You must remember, calmness is not submission. It is power in its purest, most undiluted form. The world trains you to shout, to defend, to react. But Machiavelli's timeless lesson is this: when you can remain still while chaos unfolds, you are no longer in the game. You are the one writing its rules. To stay unshaken in any confrontation is not merely to survive it, it is to transcend it. Machiavelli knew that the battlefield of the mind is far more dangerous than the battlefield of swords. The man who conquers others may be powerful for a season, but the one who conquers himself reigns eternally. In this second half of the teaching, we descend deeper, beneath tactics and appearances, into the hidden mechanisms of power, the psychology of composure, the invisible tension between ego and spirit, and the silent strategies Machiavelli understood centuries before modern science confirmed them. Principle 11. Recognize the ego's hunger for reaction. The core of every confrontation lies the same hunger, the ego's need to exist. When someone attacks you, they are often feeding off your reaction, needing it to confirm that they matter. Machiavelli observed that the most dangerous enemy is not the one with a weapon, but the one who can provoke your pride. Your ego wants to speak first, defend, justify, prove. It is terrified of being unseen. But here lies the trap. The more you react, the more you strengthen their illusion of control. By starving the ego of reaction, you feed the higher self, the one that watches, understands, and governs. Every time you choose silence over impulsiveness, the ego dies a little, and your power grows. When you realize this, confrontations lose their fire. You stop being a participant. You become the observer. Principle 12. Understand the energy behind words. Machiavelli was not only a strategist of politics, he was a strategist of human nature. He understood that every word carries frequency, energy. Words born from anger carry distortion. Words born from calm carry authority. This is why some people can speak softly yet command an entire room. When you stay unshaken, your words, and when finally spoken, land like thunder, because they come from stillness, not emotion. They emerge measured, intentional, and therefore unforgettable. The more energy you conserve, the more impact you project. Most people waste their power trying to be heard. The wise conserve it until it becomes undeniable. Principle 13. Emotional alchemy. Turning offense into insight. Machiavelli believed that offense was one of life's greatest teachers. Every insult, he said, hides a map of your own wounds. The things that trigger you reveal the parts of you that still seek validation. So when someone tries to offend you, they are unknowingly showing you where you have not yet mastered yourself. This is what the alchemists of the soul called transmutation, turning emotional lead into spiritual gold. Each confrontation, no matter how uncomfortable, becomes an opportunity for refinement. Instead of asking, why did they say that? I ask, why did that touch me? That question shifts you from reaction to revelation. The moment you can thank your enemy for showing you your weakness, you have already won the war within. Principle 14. The power of psychological distance. Machiavelli's genius lay in his detachment. He viewed human behavior as if watching a play, not judging, not reacting, only studying. To remain unshaken, you must cultivate this psychological distance. In the heat of confrontation, imagine yourself watching a scene unfold, observing your own reactions like a scientist. This separation gives you time, the most powerful currency in conflict. Time to think before you speak. Time to see motives behind words. Time to respond from strategy instead of emotion. Machiavelli understood that whoever controls the timeline of reaction controls the narrative. Psychological distance makes you uncatchable. You no longer chase, you calculate. Principle 15. Use empathy as a weapon of clarity. Empathy is not softness, it's insight. Machiavelli warned that most people confuse understanding others with agreeing with them. True empathy allows you to read the other person's fear, their insecurity, their motive, without absorbing it. When you see through their emotion, you stop taking it personally. In confrontation, empathy disarms. It allows you to predict moves before they happen. If you can see that someone's anger comes from fear, you can choose not to feed it. You step out of the emotional storm and into strategic compassion, a space where calm becomes control. The Machiavellian empath is not the victim of emotion, but the architect of peace. Principle 16, the paradox of power. Appearing vulnerable, Machiavelli taught that sometimes power hides behind humility. When you appear overly defensive, people resist you. But when you show a hint of openness, a calm vulnerability, they reveal themselves more freely. The wise use this paradox to draw truth from others. By lowering your guard just slightly, you make others feel safe enough to speak honestly. But the key is intention. Your openness must be conscious, not naive. True strength does not need to appear strong. It can afford to relax. It can afford to listen. Because the one who listens rules the dialogue. To appear vulnerable while staying centered is to wield control invisibly. Principle 17. The mirage of modern confidence. In the modern world, people are taught that confidence means loudness, that you must assert, dominate, and perform to be respected. Machiavelli would have smiled at that illusion. Real confidence is quiet. It doesn't need to announce itself because it radiates through every gesture, every silence. When you are truly confident, confrontation becomes irrelevant. You are no longer trying to win. You are simply expressing truth. The loud confidence of the insecure fades in the presence of calm assurance. Machiavelli's lesson here is clear. The more authentic your composure, the less you need to defend it. True confidence does not need to be seen. It only needs to be felt. Principle 18. Predictability. Is the death of power. Machiavelli insisted that consistency in behavior creates vulnerability. Once others know how you will react, they can use it against you. To stay unshaken, you must remain adaptable. Unpredictable not by chaos, but by balance. A person who can be kind one moment and firm the next cannot be manipulated. This is not about deceit. It's about dynamic self-control. If others can't anticipate whether you will respond or stay silent, they hesitate. That hesitation gives you power. Predictability is comfort for others. Uncertainty is sovereignty for you. The less people can define you, the more they must respect you. Principle 19. Don't seek closure. Seek mastery. Most confrontations leave people chasing one thing: closure. They want apologies, explanations, validation. Machiavelli would call that a fool's pursuit. Seeking closure means giving the other person authority over your peace. Instead, he would advise, seek mastery. Learn the lesson, extract the wisdom, and move forward. Closure is external. Mastery is internal. The need for resolution makes you dependent. Self-understanding makes you free. When you stop needing others to complete your emotional circle, you become whole, and wholeness cannot be shaken. Principle 20. The invisible authority of stillness. At the heart of all Machiavellian wisdom lies one unspoken rule. Stillness commands obedience. In politics, in leadership, in relationships, those who act without visible emotion radiate control. Stillness is not passivity. It is power compressed. It is focus unbroken. It is the unmovable flame in the storm. When you embody stillness, others instinctively align with your energy. Their chaos loses gravity. Their aggression collapses because they are subconsciously drawn to stability, and you become its source. This is why the calm man often leads without speaking. The human mind seeks safety in stillness. Now pause for a moment and reflect. Think of the last time you were provoked, not just externally, but internally. Did you react or did you rule? Did you speak from emotion or from wisdom? Each confrontation is a mirror of your current level of self-command. If you're ready to claim the throne of your own inner kingdom, write this in the comments. I remain the mountain, because when storms come, mountains don't run. They let the wind scream, the rain strike, the thunder roar, and yet they remain. And so must you. All wisdom remains powerless without embodiment. Machiavelli did not study the psychology of power to impress philosophers. He studied it to survive reality. His lessons were not abstract theories. They were weapons forged in the chaos of politics and betrayal. To stay unshaken in any confrontation, you must not only understand these principles, You must practice them until they become the language of your body, the rhythm of your breath, and the natural state of your mind. Because composure is not learned through reading. It's trained through confrontation itself. Every insult, every provocation, every tension in life is your training ground. The goal is not to avoid conflict, but to meet it with stillness so complete that it cannot pierce your peace. Now we will translate Machiavelli's timeless insights into daily techniques, mental disciplines, and real-world strategies. Ways to cultivate the kind of presence that makes your calm unbreakable. Technique 1. The rule of 3. Breath when someone provokes you. Your nervous system reacts before your mind does. This is the moment where mastery begins, between stimulus and response. The first breath stops the body from entering fight or flight. The second breath separates your emotion from your thought. The third breath allows awareness to rise above both. Machiavelli would say that each breath restores the throne of reason. Practice it everywhere. In traffic, during arguments, or when someone disrespects you. Do not rush to speak. Breathe 3 times, slowly and deeply. With each exhale, imagine releasing the ego's urgency to win. By the third breath, you'll find that 90% of what you wanted to say was unnecessary. The calm that follows will feel like an invisible armor, a composure that commands respect without a word. Technique 2. Observe before you respond. Observation is Machiavellian meditation. He believed that a leader should know the minds of others better than they know themselves. But you cannot observe if you are busy reacting. The next time you face confrontation, imagine yourself as a strategist watching a play unfold. Listen for tone, rhythm, and contradiction. The way someone speaks tells you more than the words themselves. When you detach and observe, you notice hidden motives. Fear disguised as anger, insecurity masked as arrogance. Once you see this, you no longer feel attacked. You feel informed. You realize that the other person's reaction is not about you. It's about their internal storm. Observation transforms confrontation into revelation. This is how Machiavelli moved through courts of betrayal without losing his sanity. He watched patterns, not people. Technique 3. The law of minimal reaction. Every reaction you give is a form of currency. Spend too much and you lose influence. Machiavelli knew that the less you reveal, the more powerful you become. In conversation, respond with less than expected. Use pauses strategically. A calm silence after a provocation speaks louder than an hour of explanation. Minimal reaction creates maximum uncertainty. It makes others doubt their own words, and in that doubt, your authority expands. Try this daily. When faced with disrespect or manipulation, resist the impulse to correct or defend. Simply hold the gaze, keep your tone neutral, and say little. Over time, people will learn that your silence is not emptiness, it's calculation. And that realization will change how they approach you forever. Technique 4. Anchor your calm. Through ritual, Machiavelli believed that every powerful person maintained inner order through ritual. He himself would wake before dawn, dress in formal robes, and enter his study as if meeting ancient thinkers. This daily ceremony prepared his mind for clarity and resilience. Create your own ritual of composure. It can be as simple as morning journaling, meditation, prayer, or drinking tea in silence. The purpose is to establish a psychological sanctuary, a space where your nervous system remembers what stillness feels like. The stronger your ritual, the less external chaos can affect you. Over time, your mind will learn to return to this state automatically. Even in confrontation, remember, the man who governs his mornings governs his destiny. Technique 5. Reframe. Every attack is a test, every confrontation is an initiation disguised as insult. Machiavelli would smile at the modern person who feels offended easily, not out of mockery but pity. He knew that those who are offended by everything can be controlled by anything. When someone provokes you, ask, what is life testing in me right now? Maybe it's your patience, your boundaries, or your detachment. By reframing attacks as tests, you remove their poison. The moment you see the lesson, the sting disappears. This mindset turns enemies into teachers and pain into progress. The next time you're insulted, silently say, "Thank you for the training." You'll be surprised how quickly your inner strength multiplies. Now pause the video for a moment and comment this declaration. Every confrontation strengthens my peace. This is how you begin rewriting the story of your power. Technique 6. The shadow dialogue. Exercise. Most people prepare arguments externally. What to say, how to respond. Machiavelli would prepare internally. Before entering any confrontation, visualize it. Imagine the worst things the other person could say and observe how your body reacts. Do your shoulders tense? Does your heartbeat rise? That's where your control is needed. By rehearsing the confrontation in silence, you expose your triggers before the real moment arrives. You learn to face your own shadow, the part that wants to lash out, dominate, or prove superiority. When the actual confrontation happens, your system recognizes it. It's no longer new. You stay centered because you've already lived it mentally. This is emotional strategy, winning before the battle even begins. Technique 7. The mirror of tone. How you speak determines whether your energy diffuses or escalates conflict. Machiavelli advised princes to control their tone more than their words. The voice that trembles reveals insecurity. The voice that steadies disarms opposition. When you respond, lower your tone slightly, slow your speech, and eliminate unnecessary words. This rhythm naturally commands attention. People mirror what they feel from you. If you remain grounded, their aggression loses direction. Your tone becomes an instrument of authority, a vibration that harmonizes chaos. Practice this consciously. Train your voice to remain stable even when your heart is racing, because the one who controls tone controls perception, and perception shapes every outcome. Technique 8. The invisible exit. Machiavelli often withdrew strategically from arguments he could not win without damage. He called this retreat by reason. To stay unshaken, you must know when to walk away, not as surrender but as sovereignty. Leaving a confrontation does not mean you are weak. It means you refuse to waste energy on what cannot evolve. The true Machiavellian warrior does not fight every battle, only the ones that shape empires within and without. When conflict arises, ask yourself, will this matter in 1 year? Will it add or drain my peace? If the answer is no, leave silently. Those who chase you after you've left only reveal their dependence on your energy. Walking away is not escape. It's the highest form of control. Technique 9. Rehearse. Stillness in discomfort. You cannot expect calmness in battle if you never train in discomfort. Machiavelli understood that preparation is the foundation of power. Practice small discomforts daily. Cold showers, silence when insulted, waiting in long lines without checking your phone. These moments may seem trivial, but they forge resilience. You're teaching your nervous system not to panic under tension. Every minor irritation becomes a micro-rehearsal for larger confrontations. Over time, your body learns one unshakable truth. Tension cannot touch the mind that has befriended it. You begin to embody what Machiavelli called virtù, the quality of strength expressed through composure. Technique 10. The nightly reflection. At the end of each day, sit in silence for 5 minutes and ask yourself, when did I lose my calm today? Replay those moments without judgment. Observe what triggered you and how you could have responded differently. This is not guilt, it's refinement. Machiavelli would reflect nightly on his failures and victories, not to shame himself but to adjust his internal compass. Over weeks, you begin to see patterns, certain people, words, or situations that repeatedly shake your peace. Awareness of these patterns is liberation, because once you see the mechanism, it can no longer control you. Your composure becomes no longer reactive, but premeditated. Technique 11. Align body and mind. Through posture, calmness begins in the body. Machiavelli observed that leaders who stood upright projected confidence even when uncertain. Modern science confirms that posture influences hormones and emotional states. When you stand tall, shoulders open, breathing deep, you send a message to your nervous system. I am safe. During confrontation, check your body. Are you leaning forward? Clenching your fists? These are signs of reactivity. Instead, straighten your spine, relax your face, breathe through your nose. Your physiology will stabilize your psychology. A calm body makes a calm mind inevitable. You are not just a mind controlling the body. You are a kingdom where both must serve the same ruler. Awareness. Technique 12. Practice the power pause before you. Answer any emotionally charged question. Pause for 3 seconds. This simple habit rewires your brain. The pause breaks impulsivity and activates consciousness. Machiavelli would use such pauses deliberately in conversation to force others into discomfort, to signal control, to make his words weigh more. Try it. The next time someone confronts you, let silence hang before you speak. You'll notice that others start to fill that silence with confession, justification, or apology. Your restraint compels revelation. The pause becomes your scepter, a silent declaration of authority. Technique 13. Energy. Redirection. You cannot destroy emotion. You can only redirect it. When anger rises, channel it through physical or creative movement. Write, train, breathe, or walk, but do not speak until the emotion transforms into clarity. Machiavelli would advise rulers to express anger only when it served purpose, never when it sought release. Redirecting energy keeps your emotions as fuel, not fire. Your calm becomes dynamic, not passive, but charged with purpose. Every storm within you can become a source of light if you learn to steer its current. Technique 14. Emotional containment. Practice, imagine your emotions as waves inside a glass vessel. The glass is your awareness. The waves may rise, crash, or swirl, but they cannot spill over. This visualization trains containment. You feel everything, but nothing escapes uncontrolled. When someone provokes you, silently picture yourself holding that vessel. The waves move, but the container stands firm. Over time, you'll realize that emotions lose half their power the moment they're contained by awareness. Containment is not suppression. It's elegance. It's what Machiavelli admired most. Invisible strength. Technique 15. Detachment. Through perspective, write this sentence somewhere you can see daily. This moment is not my eternity. Machiavelli survived exile, betrayal, and humiliation. Yet he never lost his sense of perspective. He knew that time dissolves the illusion of crisis. When confronted, remind yourself that every intense emotion fades. The insult you feel today will mean nothing in 10 years. Detachment comes not from coldness but from context. The wise understand that the storm always ends. The fool believes it will last forever. Repeat this in your mind during conflict. This too will pass, but I will remain. That is the voice of the unshaken. If you begin to live by these techniques, you will notice a transformation. People will speak to you differently. Chaos will slow down around you. Even enemies will hesitate before confronting you, unsure why they suddenly feel smaller in your silence. You will no longer react to life. You will respond to it from a throne of calm awareness, and soon what once triggered you will start to amuse you. Not because you don't care, but because you finally see the game for what it is. Energy trying to pull you away from your center. So I want you to write this final declaration in the comments. Nothing outside of me can disturb the empire within. Because that is Machiavelli's greatest lesson. Not about ruling others, but about ruling the self. The world belongs to those who have mastered their storms. The greatest battles in life are not fought with enemies. They are fought within the mind. The battlefield is invisible, yet the victories shape empires. Machiavelli understood this truth long before psychology gave it language. He saw that those who cannot govern themselves will always be governed by others. To remain unshaken in confrontation is to reclaim sovereignty over the only kingdom that truly matters, your inner world. And once you rule there, no one can dethrone you. Look back across your life. How many times have you lost energy defending your worth to people who could not see it? How often have you burned your peace trying to win an argument that did not deserve your fire? Each time you reacted, you gave away a piece of your crown. And yet deep inside there has always been another part of you, silent, grounded, waiting for you to return to it. That is the eternal you, the observer, the ruler, the mountain beneath all storms, the one who watches the waves but does not drown in them. This is what Machiavelli's lesson was never about manipulation. It was about mastery. He spoke of princes and rulers, but his words were always aimed at the soul. He who conquers himself, he implied, needs no army. Because composure is not a posture you perform, it is a frequency you become. It radiates from your breath, from your silence, from your refusal to be pulled into the noise of others. You must understand something profound. Calmness is not weakness, and silence is not surrender. In a world addicted to reaction, your restraint becomes rebellion. In a society that rewards outrage, your peace becomes a weapon. When you can look into the eyes of chaos and smile inwardly, you have discovered a strength no confrontation can touch. The truly powerful don't need to fight. Their energy alone makes others think. Twice before engaging, Machiavelli wrote that men judge more with their eyes than with their hands, meaning people believe what they see more than what they hear. When others see you unbothered, they feel your strength, even if they cannot explain it. They sense your internal order, your unbreakable center. You become, without words, the embodiment of control. And that control changes everything. Because human nature respects stability, even when it fears it. Yet the true purpose of this composure is not to dominate others, but to liberate yourself. When you are no longer swayed by every opinion, insult, or provocation, your mind becomes free. Free to think, to create, to build, to love without fear. The energy once wasted on reaction becomes fuel for purpose. This is why the most serene people often accomplish the most. They are not distracted by trivial wars. Their power flows in one direction, forward. Think of the storm. It is loud, violent, destructive. But once it passes, the mountain still stands, untouched. That mountain is you when you finally stop identifying with the noise. You are not the thunder of emotion nor the lightning of impulse. You are the stillness from which both arise and fade. Machiavelli's true genius was realizing that power is not external. It is energetic equilibrium. The calm ruler commands more than the restless conqueror ever could. When you next find yourself in confrontation, whether with a person, a situation, or your own shadow, remember this: you do not need to prove your strength. You only need to hold it. Don't defend your worth. Demonstrate it through stillness. Don't chase respect. Embody it through composure. The more you remain unshaken, the more others will start to orbit around your peace like lost planets drawn to gravity. But let's go deeper, because stillness is not born overnight. It is cultivated through awareness, trial, and the willingness to be misunderstood. You will face moments where silence feels unbearable, where you want to explode, defend, or justify yourself. That is the test. That is where power is forged, not in comfort, but in the heat of restraint. Every time you hold your composure when it would be easier to break, you carve another stone into the foundation of your inner empire. And this empire is not made of walls or armies. It's made of presence. Presence is the divine currency of influence. The one who can remain present even when attacked radiates authority that no title can grant. This is the secret shared by kings, monks, generals, and sages alike. Stillness is divine. It is the echo of eternity living through you. When you truly understand this, confrontation stops being personal. You no longer see an enemy. You see energy. You no longer feel insulted. You feel opportunity. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start saying, "Here is another lesson." This shift from reaction to revelation is the moment you transcend the ordinary mind and enter the realm of mastery. Machiavelli lived through betrayal, imprisonment, and exile. He lost power, friends, even dignity in the eyes of the world, yet his writings survived centuries. Why? Because the man understood what cannot be destroyed. The body may be confined, the reputation may be tarnished, but the composed spirit cannot be conquered. That is the ultimate victory, to remain whole when the world tries to break you. So when you walk through life, do not pray for fewer confrontations. Pray for greater calm. Do not wish for silence around you. Create silence within you. Because peace is not found in the absence of conflict. It is found in the mastery of response. The storm will always come. Let it. You are not here to stop the wind. You are here to learn how to breathe through it. And when you do, when your calm becomes unbreakable, when your silence becomes sacred, something extraordinary happens. You no longer fear losing control because you have realized that control was never about the outside world. It was about the mastery of your state. You start walking through life with quiet confidence. And even chaos bows its head when you pass. Before we end, I want you to whisper these words to yourself, not as a mantra, but as a vow. I do not chase control. I embody it. Let that sentence sink into you. Let it live in your breath, in your posture, in the way you move through your days. Because once you embody control, confrontation ceases to exist. There are only moments, some calm, some intense, but all powerless before your inner throne. So if this message has spoken to you, take a moment right now. Comment below this declaration. I remain calm. Therefore I remain powerful. And if you're ready to keep walking this path, the path of mastery, of composure, of inner authority, subscribe and stay with me. Because this journey doesn't end with Machiavelli. It continues through every mind that seeks freedom, every soul that refuses to be enslaved by noise, every person who chooses silence over chaos. Remember, the world belongs not to those who speak the loudest, but to those who listen deepest. The calm mind sees all, the calm heart rules all, and the calm soul, that is the soul that never breaks. This was Machiavelli's true lesson, to be the ruler who cannot be provoked, the spirit that remains unmoved, the power that does not need to prove itself. You are that ruler, You are that power. You are that calm. And from this moment forward, may nothing and no one ever shake your throne again.